Hilchos Maachalos Asuros Perek Shneim Asar. The laws of forbidden foods, chapter 12. We're continuing on Yayin Nesach, the topic of wine that was used in idol worship. And the way the Rambam described it yesterday is that when a non-Jew touches the wine, it becomes forbidden. But we didn't define what it means to touch. So the Rambam today is going to spend the whole beginning of the chapter talking about what it means to touch the wine. Just touching the bottle with your finger, how does it work exactly? And then we're going to deal with a whole bunch of other cases where there's a doubt whether or not the non-Jew is going to have enough time to make the wine disqualified, and the Rambam is going to rule on many of those cases. So let's begin. Halacha Aleph. Keitzad hi hanegia she'oiser ba ha'ovet kechavim u'mazalais hayayin. What exactly is meant by touching when we say that an idol-worshipping Gentile forbids wine when he touches it? What's called touching? Hu sheyiga bayayin atzmai. It means two things. He needs to touch the actual wine, bein biyadai, bein b'sharei varav shadarkan lanasech bahen, whether by hand or with any other limb that's usually used for libation. It could be with the mouth, it could be with other upper parts of the body, not with the feet, like we saw yesterday. You have to touch the actual wine, v'yishachshech, and swish it or shake it. Avalim pashat yadei lechavis. But if a non-Jew extends his hand, he's about to put his hand into a barrel. V'tafsu es yadei kaidem sheyotzia, and they grabbed his hand before he has a chance to take out any wine. V'lo yinida, nor did he have a chance to shake it. Upaschu hechavis milamata, while his hand is over there, right over the barrel, they opened the barrel from under. Ad sheyatza hayayin v'yarad lemata miyadei, till all the wine went out, and it left the area below his hand. So it seems like he actually put his hand into the wine. His hand is in the barrel, but he didn't have a chance to move it around. Somebody grabbed hold of his hand and is holding it in place. He can't shake his fingers, he can't shake his hand. And you released all the wine from under, it's okay. Loi nesar hayayin, the wine didn't become forbidden. V'chein im achaz kli pasuach shel yayin. V'shichshechai, same thing if the non-Jew is holding on to an open container of wine, something like this. So you have, imagine the barrel was sitting on a table, and I'm holding it up, but it's not on a surface. Imagine it's on a surface, and the non-Jew is holding it like this. He's holding onto the container. V'shichshechai, and yes, ni'er. He's shaking it around, he's moving it around. Afal pi shaloi higbiya hakli. Even though he never lifted the utensil. That's why I told you that you have to imagine that it's on a surface. It has to be on a table or on the floor. He never picked it up, and he never touched the actual wine. Nesar hayayin. Here, the wine does become forbidden because he shook the wine, and it came because of his force. Halacha beis not al klishal yayin. If a non-Jew takes a container of wine, and the commentaries say it's an open container, v'higbiyai v'yatzak hayayin, and he picks it up and he pours out the wine. So no active shaking, just picked it up, poured it out. Afal pisha leishich sheikh, even though he never shook it, nesar, it's forbidden. Shaharei ba hayayin mikoichai, because the wine is coming from his power. Higbiya v'leishich sheikh v'loy naga. If all he did was lift up the utensil, the open container with wine, he didn't shake it, he didn't touch the actual wine. Mutter, that's permitted. Unlike in the last halacha, where he just put his hand around the barrel, but since he shook it, it's already forbidding it. Here, even though he lifted it, so there's more of his power involved, but since he never shook it or touched the wine, it's permitted.
But the question is why?
Why what?
Why, if he shook that, does it mean that he worked something?
Yes, because yesterday we learned that the whole idea of Yayin Nesach means that we're suspecting that the non-Jew had in mind to dedicate the wine to an idol.
Oh, okay.
And so that happens with the with the swish. You know, when he does the swish, that's the moment of dedication. Gimel. An idol-worshipping Gentile is holding a barrel on the ground, an empty barrel. And a Jew is pouring wine into the barrel which the non-Jew is holding. Hayayin mutter, the wine is permitted, because it's like the last case where he's only holding onto the utensil, not actually moving it or touching the wine. Hakli, were the idol-worshipping Gentile to move or shake this utensil as the Jew is pouring in his wine, nesar hayayin, the wine becomes forbidden. Halacha dalid, all the past halachot only applied to an open container. Kli sasum, a closed container, mutar letaltaloi ha'ovid kechavim u'mazalois mimakim lemakim. A non-Jew can most definitely move them around. There's a shopping cart full of closed bottles of wine. The non-Jew is moving them around, no issue. He could actually even carry the bottles. I made it with the shopping cart. He could actually carry the bottles. Even if the wine is moving as a result of his movement. This is not the way of libations. Libations, dedications to idols were made with open barrels of wine. Interesting case. A non-Jew, this is how the commentators explain it. Hever is referring to a non-Jew. A non-Jew is moving a wineskin full of wine from place to place. Vehu oiches pi hanoid biyadai. And he, the commentaries say, it means a Jew. So the first one is the guy, second one is the Jew. A non-Jew is walking with a wineskin full of wine, and the Jew is holding it closed on the top. He's holding the opening closed. Bein shahaya hanoid malei oy chaser. Whether the wineskin is full or empty, in other words, not full all the way to the top, mutter, it's permitted. Va'afal pisha hayayin misnadned, even though the wine is moving around. Today, when we talk about our wine bottles, as soon as we open them, we pull out the cork. That's considered to be open, and we never consider it to be reclosed again. From that point on, if a non-Jew handles it, it becomes forbidden. Here, it seems like the wineskin, just by you holding it closed, could be considered reclosed, because it isn't like a cork where you're just putting it in temporarily. This is the way you actually close it. When you close the wineskin, it becomes sealed, and that's considered as if it's in the status of closed.
So if you've got an open bottle of wine, Shabbat wine, that's on the table.
Non-pasteurized.
No, non-pasteurized.
Yeah.
Even if it's sealed, the guy can't even look at it.
No. So sealed, when the bottle is sealed, we're not stringent at all. A non-Jew can look at it, a non-Jew can handle it. The moment it's open is when the halacha talks about handling, and according to Kabbalah, it's not a halacha thing. It's a Kabbalah thing that we don't let Gentiles look at non-pasteurized wine. That's why you cover it in silver foil, you come to the rabbi's house on Pesach, exactly, that's the whole thing.
So that's kind of like over and above the
That's,
halacha.
yes, over and above the halacha. Halacha is talk only about handling. Hever kli cheres pasuach malayayin. If the idol-worshipping Gentile transports an earthenware container that's open and full of wine, asur, it's forbidden, shema nagabai. Perhaps he touched it. Since it's full to the brim, the chances are when he's transporting it, he's going to touch the wine at the top. But if it was lacking, in other words, it wasn't full all the way to the top, mutter, then it's permitted, unless he actively swished it. If he shook the wine with the intention of libation, then it's forbidden. Halacha hey, oibid kechavim u'mazalois shenaga beyayin v'lei niskabin lazeh. An idol-worshipping Gentile touches wine, and touches mean, the halachic definition, he's shaking the bottle or whatever it is, but he's not doing it with intention. Hare hayayin mutter bahana bilvad. The wine is still forbidden to drink, but it's permitted to have benefit from it. It doesn't become the full level of yayin nesech. What's considered to be non-intentional? So the Rambam gives two cases. Ketzad, what does this look like? Kigoyin shenafal al noid shel yayin. One case would be, he tripped and fell onto a wineskin. So he moved the wine, he shook the wine, but it wasn't intentional. Or maybe he put his hand into a barrel to take out some liquid, thinking that it was oil, and it turns out that it's wine. So these are both considered non-intentional cases. In the first case, it was totally unintentional. He fell onto the wine. Here, there was an intentional act in the second case. He's lifting up the liquid, but he thinks it's oil. He doesn't think it's wine. Halacha vav ba hayayin. If the wine moved from place to place by the force of an idol-worshipping Gentile, unintentionally, since he didn't touch the wine, in other words, since he didn't fulfill the halachic definition of touching, he didn't shake it actively, not only is it permitted to have benefit from, it's permitted even to drink. Ketzad, what does this mean? That the wine will come by his force, but he won't touch the wine. He lifted a utensil of wine, a container of wine, and he poured it into another container, while thinking that it's beer or oil. This is the case where it's permitted, not only in benefit, even in drinking. Because here, both conditions were lacking. He did it unintentionally, and he didn't even touch the wine. In the last case, at least he moved, at least he swished the wine with some intent. Here, he didn't even touch it at all. Halacha zayin nichnas oivet kechavim u'mazolos lebayis elechanus levakish yayin. An idol worshiping Gentile goes shopping for wine. He goes into a home, goes into a store. He's looking for wine. Jewish store, obviously, we're talking about. Upashat yadei kishu mechapes v'naga biyayin. He stretches out his hand while he's looking, and he touches the wine. It wasn't like today. I mean, this picture is a picture of all bottled wines. But you used to go in the olden day wine stores. There was open barrels for testing for this. You take out a little quart, put it into a bottle. There was an open barrel over there, and by mistake he touches the wine. Asur, that's forbidden now. Share liyayin niskaven ve'ein zeh negeya b'lei kavana. He had intent to touch the wine. We don't consider this unintentional touching, even though it may be in his mind unintentional. Like I didn't mean to touch it. But you meant to check out the wine. You're in a wine store. You're looking to buy wine. So therefore, it's forbidden. Halacha ches. Chavis shenisdeka le'arka. A barrel of wine cracks lengthwise. If you let it go, all the wine is going to be destroyed. V'kadam v'kechavim u'mazalis. V'chavka comes a Gentile and hugs the barrel, holds it together. Kedei shelo yispardu hacharasim, so the shards don't separate. Hareza mutar bahana. This wine is forbidden. It's permitted to have benefit from, but it's forbidden to drink, because by the hug, the non-Jew saved all the wine, and essentially. Aval imnis de rachba. But if the barrel cracked widthwise, also a crack. But if you let it go, you're only going to lose the top half of the wine. The bottom half will stay. The tafas basedeka elyon. Comes the non-Jew, holds the upper shard, not allowing it to fall. The wine is all permitted even to drink. In this case, none of the wine is based on the power of the Gentile. He's simply holding it down. If he can let it go, it would still be there. Halacha tes. A Gentile fell into a pit of wine, and he drowned there. I didn't have a good picture of a barrel, but I found a picture of a cup. Okay, this guy drowned in his wine. And they take him out. He's dead. Or the Gentile was measuring a cistern, a pit full of wine, with a reed. So he wasn't actively touching the wine with his hands. Even if he did touch the wine, it was with the reed that he was using to measure. Or he was swatting a fly or a hornet off of the barrel or the pit of wine with a reed. Or he was patting down a bubbling barrel of wine so that the bubbles should go down. You ever pour yourself a cup of wine even nowadays, like a sparkling wine? A little layer of bubbles, you tap it down so it goes down. So there was apparently some bubbles on top of the wine. Maybe it was in the middle of fermenting or whatever it is. And he's tapping it. Or he took a barrel and he threw it in anger into the cistern. In all of these cases, the wine is only permitted to have benefit from it. But it is forbidden to drink it, because the Gentile was involved in touching it, and even though through another entity, it still forbids it to be drunk. So if he drowned in the wine, bottom line is he touched it. Using a reed, he touched it. He threw a barrel of wine into it, he touched it. So forbidden to drink, permitted to benefit. If the first case, when he drowned in the wine, if they took him up alive, hayayin osir bahana. Listen to this: the wine is forbidden to have benefit from it. The Gemara explains, because we assume at the minute he comes up alive, he's going to thank his idol for saving him. And thereby, the whole wine becomes yayin nesach. The whole wine becomes associated with a libation because he dedicates it to his deity. He saved me from this wine. Halacha yud. Chavis shahayanekev b'tzida. There was a barrel that had a hole on the side. Either it was used as a spigot, that's where the wine would come out of. V'nishmat hapkak min hanekev. And the stopper that's usually in the hole was removed, slipped out. Comes the Gentile, he sees the wine is coming out, he sticks his finger into the hole to hold the wine so it shouldn't go out. Kol hayayin shemireish hachavis ad hanekev aser. Any wine from the top of the barrel till the point of the hole is forbidden, because it would have gone out if not for his power. But under the hole is all permitted, because he didn't save that wine, it would have been there anyways. Halacha Yud Aleph meinekes kfufa, a bent straw. We call this siphoning. This is a cool trick you may have learned when you were in school. If you have a cup of water or any liquid, and you put a straw into one of the cups, and you suck on it on one end, naturally it's going to draw all the water out. Automatically. You just start it off with a little suck, and it siphons everything. You can do this from two massive pits. You have a massive pit of water, and you want to transfer to another pit of water, make a little pipe that goes from one to the other, suck on the one end, boom, all the water comes out. So the Rambam says, meinekes kfufa, you have now this siphon, this straw, this bent straw. They're usually made out of metal or glass or something like that. You put one end into the wine in the barrel. I used water here, but imagine this is a barrel here, a barrel of wine. You put the straw into the barrel. And the other head of the straw is outside the barrel. And you suck on the wine, you suck on the edge of the straw. And the wine began to come out as we do all the time. This was a common custom. Comes the Gentile, puts his finger on the straw, because the moment the airflow stops, the whole flow stops. The vacuum stops. So he puts his hand on the straw, puts his finger on the straw, and now he stops the wine from coming down. Nesar kol hayayin shebechavis. That act, little finger, forbids all the wine in the barrel. If not for the idol-worshipping Gentile's hand, the whole wine would have come out. So this moment now creates as if the entire wine is coming back into the barrel because of his force. Without the guy, it would have all left the barrel. He puts the finger there, now it's all back in the barrel by his force. Halacha Yud Beis hame'are yayin l'seich kli sheyesh ba yain oivdek echavim u'mazalis. You have a barrel that's holding Gentile wine, and you pour kosher wine from another big barrel into this barrel of non-kosher wine. Nesar kol hayayin shabakli ha'elyon. Even if you don't empty the whole thing, whatever wine is in the top barrel is forbidden. Sharei ha'amud hanitzaik, because the column of wine that's being poured, mechaber ben hayayin shabakli ha'elyon or ben hayayin shabakli ha'tachten, combines the wine in the lower utensil and the wine in the upper utensil. They're connected through the stream. There's a stream of wine that's in the top and in the bottom one, and the bottom one is forbidden, so it forbids the whole top. Lefichach, therefore, hamoided la'evet kechavim mazalis. If you're a wine merchant, you're a Jewish store owner, and you're pouring from your barrel of wine into the non-Jewish guy's measuring cup, yenapetz nefitza, or yizreik zrika, you have to kind of throw the wine out.
Like a splash.
In a splash.
Yeah.
So no column is established. So the poured stream shouldn't become a connection, and it will forbid whatever is left in the top utensil. You have to splash it out.
We're talking about the measuring cup is empty here? Even if it's empty?
Yes, but it's a non-Jewish measuring cup. Gentile, full of Gentile wine. Yud Gimel, Mashpech, Shemadad Boy, Le'evek Mazalis. You have a funnel that you're using to measure out wine to a Gentile. Im yesh b'ktzei hamashpech, akeves yayin. If there's an obstruction at the bottom of the funnel that's meant to block the wine on its way out, lo yimdod by Yisrael ad sheyedichenu v'yenagev. Do not use the same funnel to measure out to a Jew until you wash it out and you dry it very well. If you don't wash it out, it's forbidden, because it's going to have some remnants of the non-Jew's wine. Halacha Yudalid Kli Sheyesh Lo Kimin Shnei Chatamin Yotzin Mimenu. You have a utensil, a container, that has like two nostrils coming out of it. Two kind of spouts or straw-like holes. Like the utensils that we use to wash our hands. It's full of wine and it's being held by a Jew. And he has a non-Jewish friend, and they're both sucking on the wine from either straw. The Jew is sucking on one straw, the non-Jew is sucking on the other. Harei mutter. That's allowed. V'hu, it's only allowed though, sheyakdim ha-Yisraeli v'yifsaik v'adayin ha'evek echavim ha'mazal es shaisa. The Jew has to begin drinking and stop drinking while the non-Jewish Gentile is still drinking. In other words, he has to stop drinking before the guy finishes. You ever drink from a straw? You drink from a straw, not all the liquid in the straw goes into your mouth. The moment you stop drinking, there's some liquid left in the straw that goes back into the cup. So the moment the non-Jew finishes sucking on the straw, whatever wine is left in the straw is going to go back into the utensil. And it's going to forbid whatever's left in the utensil, because in this case the wine came from his power. Tesvav. By the same principle, just a guy, he has a barrel of wine, and he sucks with a straw a little bit out of the barrel. He forbids all the wine in the barrel. Because the moment he stops sucking, all the wine that came up in the straw with his sucking is going to go back, fall into the barrel and forbid everything. Halacha tezayin oivet kechavim u'mazalos shehaya ma'avir im Yisrael kadeyayin mimakim lemakim. You have a Jew and a Gentile are traveling and they're moving wine from place to place. V'hu haylech achareim l'shamran, and the Jew is walking behind them to guard the wine or to guard the caravan or whatever it is. It's a trip involving a non-Jew and a Jew moving wine. Afilu hifligu mimenu kidei mil. Even if the Gentile went ahead of the Jew by a mil, about a kilometer, harei elu mutaris, all the wine is permitted, she'imasei alein, because the fear of the Jew is on the goyim. The guy will say, Ata yetzel lefaneinu v'yirei sanu. No, any minute now he's going to come and see us. So we're not going to take a chance and touch the wine. But if the Jew says, L'chu va'ani avei achareichem, you guys go, I'm going to come after you, so those words already imply, you guys go ahead, I'll be there in a while. If they're hidden from his eyes, if the Jew loses sight of them, with enough time, enough time to open up a barrel, seal it again, and the sealant will dry, all the wine is forbidden. We assume that perhaps they opened up all the wine and dedicated it to idols, and it's forbidden. If he didn't lose sight of them for that long, then it's still permitted. Somebody leaves a Gentile in his store. You're the owner of a store. You have a non-Jewish employee. You leave him in the wine store. Even if you're going in and out all day, hayayin mutter. The wine is always permitted because the non-Jew never knows how long you're gone for. But if the Jewish employer tells the non-Jewish employee, I'm going out for an extended period of time, and he waited enough time for the non-Jew to open up a barrel, close it, and seal it, and let the sealant dry out, all the wine is forbidden. Same principle. You leave your wine in a wagon or in a boat with a non-Jew. And you go into the city to do your business. The wine is permitted. You never gave him a time frame. He's always scared you're going to come back any second. If you let him know it's going to be a while, and you wait enough time to open the barrel, seal the barrel, and the seal to dry, all the wine is forbidden to drink. All of these laws are only said if the containers were closed. That's when you need the whole delay time. But if they're open barrels, even if there's no delay at all, The moment you tell the guy you're going out for a long period of time, hayayin asr, all the wine is forbidden. All he has to do is go over to the barrel, shake it, boom, it's forbidden. No need to wait to open and close and dry and seal, nothing of that sort. The moment he goes out for a long trip, that's the moment it becomes forbidden. A Jew is eating with a non-Jew, same table. And he leaves a little open wine on the table and some open wine on the bar, on the counter. And he leaves the house. The wine on the table is forbidden. Because you're at a table, you have no problem touching the wine on the table. But the wine on the bar, on the counter, he's not going to get up. He's a guest. He's not going to get up, and move that wine. So it's permitted. If the Jew, on his way out, told the non-Jew, say, listen, buddy, while I'm out, you can pour yourself more wine, drink more wine, no problem. So all the open wine in the house is forbidden. Not only the counter, all open wine in the house is forbidden. Because we're worried that he maybe went to that wine and took it because he got permission. Let's say you guy lived across the shul. Shul door was open. He's having lunch with the idol worshipping Gentile. They're drinking wine together, and he hears Kaddish. He hears the davening starting in shul. So he leaves. Af hayayin apasuach muter. Every wine in the house, even the open wine, is permitted. Because the guy doesn't know how shul works, how davening works. He says, the Jew left for a second. Any second now he's going to remember the wine and come back very fast. He's going to find me touching the wine. I'm scared. And therefore he will not move from his place. The only thing that's forbidden is the wine that's in front of the guy. That wine he's still going to touch. Anything else he won't touch. So you have a non-Jew and a Jew living in the same courtyard. And both of them left in a hurry to go see a wedding procession or a eulogy procession. So the word here, bebehala, is operative. They left in a hurry means each one not necessarily was aware of the other one. They're both rushing to get to this procession. The non-Jew comes back and closes the door to the courtyard. The achar kach Yisrael, and only then comes the Jew. So technically, you have a non-Jew in a closed courtyard with a bunch of kosher wine. What do? It says that any open wine in the Jewish home remains permitted. The only reason the non-Jew closed the door to the courtyard is because he thought the Jew already came back home. And nobody's left outside. He simply thinks that the Jew came before him. He didn't close the door with the intention to go and damage the wine. Remember, they left in a hurry. He doesn't remember, where's the Jew. So he thought he already came back. And he's closing the door with no bad intentions. A Jew's wine and a non-Jew's wine are being stored in one room, one home. The barrels were open. If the non-Jew goes into the house and locks the door behind him, all the wine is forbidden. However, if there's a window in the door and somebody behind could look inside and see into the room full of wine,
could look, doesn't look.
Yeah, could look. If it's possible to look, any barrels which can be seen through the window are permitted. Any barrels on the side are forbidden. The ones in front of the window, the non-Jew won't touch. He's worried somebody's going to see him. On the side, nobody has a problem. A lion roared. Here's our lion. And here's our guy hiding over there. And the idol worshipping Gentile ran away from the lion, and he hides himself between the open barrels. This is an inaccurate picture because the barrels are all closed. But imagine they're all open. There he is, cowering in fear, hiding from the lion, but he's next to a bunch of open barrels of wine. Hayayin muter, the wine is permitted. Shehu Aimer, because the guy says, Shema Yisrael Acher Nechbakan. There's a lion out there. Maybe a Jew is hiding here with me. He'll see me when I'm touching. So he'll be afraid, he won't touch. Chav Gimel, Oitzer Shal Yayin, Shayu Chaviyosov Psuchais. You have a wine storage where all the barrels are open. In the same storehouse, the non-Jew has other barrels that belong to him. And the non-Jew is found, is discovered, standing by the Jewish open barrels. If he gets all worked up when he's discovered, he gets flustered, and it seems like he's just been caught in an act of thievery, then the wine is permitted to drink, because out of fear, he won't have time to shake the wine and make it forbidden. But if he wouldn't be caught as a thief, he's confident to stand there, the wine is forbidden. If a child is found among the open barrels, either way, all the wine is permitted. A platoon of soldiers comes into a country or to a city in a way of peace. They're just passing through. All open barrels and all stores are forbidden. The closed ones are permitted, because since they're coming in peace, they don't mind, they have time, they feel secure. They go around, they touch wine, do whatever they want. During wartime, they're laser focused on the war. If the battalion comes through the city and just goes through, both closed and open barrels are permitted. There's no time to do libations to the wine. You have a non-Jew standing next to a pit of wine that belongs to a Jew. If this wine is collateral for a loan that a Jew owes him, the wine is forbidden. He's familiar with it, he feels confident in it, he puts his hand forth and he does the libations. If he has no connection to the wine, there's no collateral here, the wine is permitted to be drunk. A non-Jewish prostitute at a Jewish party, all the wine is permitted. She's afraid of them, she won't touch the wine. But a Jewish prostitute at a non-Jewish party, imagine this, she's a Jewish prostitute, but she's worried about the halacha of the wine that she's touching. The wine that's in front of her in her utensils is forbidden, because they will touch it without her intention. They watch that she's not looking, and they touch her wine to make it forbidden. They want her to do two sins. Imagine this halacha, like it tells you how pure a Jew is. She's doing a sin. She's a prostitute, but she wants to know which wine she can drink. Chav Zayin, Ovid kechavim hanimsa bebeis hagas. A Gentile is found in the wine press. Im yesham lachluchis yayin. If there's enough moisture on the wine, kedei livlel hakaf, ad shetivlel hakaf lekaf shniya, enough to make one hand wet, so much so that it can transfer the dampness to another hand. It's called tofeach al manat lahatfiach in the Talmud. It's damp enough to transfer the dampness. Tzarich lahadiach kol beis hagas v'yenaged. You have to wash out the whole press and dry it out before you use it for kosher wine. V'im lav mediach bilvad. If not, if it's dry, you just wash it off, and then it's kosher for Jewish wine. V'zu archaka yaseira. Even that is an extra measure of stringency. It's not necessary on the dry halachic level. Chavis shetzafa v'nahar. You're walking down the river, you see a barrel of wine floating on the river. Im nimtzes keneged ir sheruba Yisrael. If it's found opposite a city who's mostly Jews, mutaras bahana. You can have even benefit. You can benefit from it, but you can't drink it.
You don't know who produced that?
You don't know who produced it. You can have benefit from it. Can't drink it. Keneged ir sheruba if the kechavim asura. If it's opposite a city who's mostly Gentile, forbidden even to benefit. Chavtes makayim shal yurev meichri ayayin by Yisraelim. If there's a place where most of the wine sellers are Jews, v'nimtzu by kelim gedolim aleim yayin, and you find massive containers full of wine. V'hem kelim shederech hamoichim levadam lichnes be'amayim. Such containers that are only used by wholesale wine sellers. So they probably belong to a Jew, because the majority of wine merchants are Jews. Hare'elu mutarin bahana. They're permitted to have benefit from, but not permitted to drink. The assumption is that most of the people living in the city are Gentiles. That's how the Kesef Mishnah explains it. Chavis shepaschu aganovim. If a barrel was opened by thieves, imrayv ganavi ha'ir Yisrael. If most of the city thieves are Jews, hayayin mutter b'shtasiya. Then you can drink the wine. V'im lav aser. But if not, Gentiles, then it's forbidden because they probably libated the wine, made it forbidden when they stole the wine.